And the gremlins, we've cleaned them out of the system. Technically, we are now all good to talk to you. Masigo, tell us, e-tolls is likely again to be a big issue inside that legislature today. Am I wrong?
That's right, Braden. And I mean, the e-tolls issue has really been a thorn on the side of the Gauteng government, hasn't it? Especially because while the Gauteng ANC-led government here in this province keeps saying that e-tolls will actually be scrapped and that motorists will not be expected to pay for those services offered by SANRAL, then you hear from the national government, particularly in Treasury, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Tito Mboweni, not so long ago, saying that, you know, South Africans need to understand that the project has been done and it's a system that must be paid for and that we won't be excused from that. So there's a lot of confusion around that, especially, Bradan, after the Transport Minister, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, about 2 weekends ago actually confirming that the President has signed the ARTO bill into law, which will see motorists being given demerits for whatever transgressions that they cause on the South African roads, saying that it will help with carnage. But a lot of opposition parties, Bradan, including civil society organizations that are against e-tolls, such as ARTA, saying that they feel that government, especially the national government, is trying to use the ARTO bill to somehow have motorists, especially in Gauteng or who use roads in Gauteng, to pay for e-tolls in a way that doesn't look like it's e-tolls, but through this bill. So this is definitely something that will be asked by opposition parties about whether or not the Premier still stands at making sure that Gauteng motorists don't have to pay for e-tolls anymore. How far is his fight with the national government when it comes to the e-tolls? That Twitter war that we saw, for instance, Bradan, between the Transport Minister, or rather the Finance Minister and the Premier of Gauteng earlier this year, after that the Minister Tito Mboweni saying that there is nothing like scrapping the e-toll system, motorists will have to pay. So we're still yet to hear from the Premier here today how far his fight is, what is he willing to do, what is it that he is promising Gauteng motorists now about that issue, e-tolls.
Yeah, it's not the only main issue, I guess. I'm just wondering about that proposal around the health issue of 4 academic hospitals to be run by national government. I mean, that kind of issue will be discussed, I guess, within the context of the proposed NHI as well. I mean, many hospitals are in Gauteng and many people migrate into this province seeking a better life.
Exactly, Bradan. I mean, we know that Gauteng is the smallest province in the country, but it's got the most residents, actually, because, like you rightly said, Bradan, because it's the economic hub of the country, and this is where a lot of people come to find greener pastures. This is where a lot of employment actually takes place. It's actually one of the places where government official offices are at, besides the Western Cape. So definitely this is where a lot of people come. And obviously when you get sick, we've heard from the Gauteng MECs of health, from, for instance, Qedani Mahlangu to MEC Ramokgopa to now the new MEC, Dr. Bandile Masuku, who keep repeating the fact that Gauteng is inundated. It's very short-staffed, looking at how many people that it has to service, especially particularly those 4 academic hospitals, Bradan, which include the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital and the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital. Chris Hani, Bradan, for instance, is the biggest hospital in the continent, and it doesn't only service the people of this country, or rather the people of this province. It services people outside of the province, and then also the SADC region, and sometimes countries that are elsewhere within the African continent. So we've heard them complain time and time again about that. But with the NHI bill now being signed into law and now having to be debated by cabinet soon, we hear from the Premier saying that national government should take those 4 academic hospitals and rather run them from a national basis. But a lot of opposition parties, especially the DA, which obviously is the official opposition in Gauteng, saying that this won't work. Already the Gauteng government itself, which has a mandate to look after fewer hospitals, can't do that. How is national government going to be able to do that? But of course, David Makhura saying it's because of the national health insurance. It's a universal access to quality health health care, and he believes, or rather the Gauteng government believes, that if national government takes over these 4 hospitals, the services at these 4 hospitals will be better. But of course, opposition parties saying this is not it. How also are students in universities training to become medical doctors, how are they expected to be able to study when at these hospitals when it's taken over by national government? They say that those students won't be able to necessarily get their academic qualifications from those hospitals if they go nationally.
A big issue. Healthcare in the province is a big issue. Well, we'll have to wait and listen in and see what comes out of that question and answer session with the Gauteng Premier David Makhura today. Thank you very much, Masigo.